Okay, today we are going to talk about how to build and manage instance in Amazon Web Service. First, we select EC2 on AWS Service Dashboard. Then we click Launch Instance. And here we can see that AWS provide many operating systems such as Linux and Windows. As Linux is very useful for big data and Ubuntu is a very popular Linux system, we would like to build an Ubuntu instance here. For the instance type, as we don't want to spend any money on AWS, so we might need to select the free tier type. And next, for the configuration and storage, we can just keep it as the same as its default setting. And next step, we need to create a security group for our instance. We can name the security group and edit the description as whatever we want. Like here, I would like to name it as Kevin. And then like the description, we would type open to Kevin. And for the type, we just keep it as the same with the SSH and source. Because I only want to access to my instance with my IP address, so I will select my IP for the source. And we click review and launch. Make sure everything is what we want, so we can click launch. Then AWS will require you to create a key pair. We just name a new key pair and name it as Kevin key and download it. Now it is all set. Let's launch the instance. After we build our instance, we will need PuTTY and WinSCP to connect and manage our instance. Make sure you download and install them. Just like Daniel introduced in the first step, PuTTY and WinSCP are very convenient tools to manage files on our instance. First, we need to use PuTTY key generator to convert the key pair we downloaded. The key pair here, so it's the Kevin key. And then we save it as private key on the desktop. So we still name it like as key Kevin key. Then we open PuTTY. And for our hostname here, we need to copy the IP address of our instance and paste here. But one very important thing is that we need to add Ubuntu at before the IP address. And then we go to SSH auth and load the private key. So after all these steps is all set, we can connect with our instance now. Then we click open. So you can see we already connected with our instance, and you can use all kinds of Linux functions here. Like if we want to check the date of our system, we can type date. Then it can give you the date of the system. Also, we can use WinSCP to transfer the files and manage files between our laptops and instance. Here we also need to copy the IP address of the instance. So we copy and paste it to our hostname. And for the username, we type Ubuntu here. And then we go to Advanced and Authentication and load our private key. It's the Kevin key. Click OK. So after this, we can connect with our instance and manage the files of our instance. Like these are the files on our instance now, and you can transfer whatever you want from your laptop to the instance. So these are the steps of how to build and manage AWS EC2 instance. Thanks for watching it.
Hey guys, so now that you've hopefully been able to create your EC2 instances, I'm going to walk you through how to create an extra level of security to your AWS EC2 account. So the first task here is to create a group called Developers that has full access and read-only access to your AWS EC2. So first, we're just on the AWS, Amazon.com, and we'll scroll down to Security, Identity, and Compliance, and we'll just click on IAM to access our IAM product. Sorry about that. So we're going to go into groups here, and you'll notice this big blue button right here, create new group. So this is where we're going to begin creating our group here. So we can create a group name. You can give this any name really, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to create a group called developers, and we'll click next step. So here, this is a really important step right here. This is where you're attaching policies to the group. So this is what will eventually assign what your group can and cannot access as far as your AWS resources. So you'll see that IAM can really attach your group to any AWS resource. I mean, this list just goes on and on. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to be looking at the EC2 policies. And there are a ton of them, but the ones that are really important for as far as your developers, because they'll be able to have full access and read-only access to your account. We'll just be choosing these two for now, but I really suggest that you go through and see, all of the different policies you can attach for your different groups that will be accessing your AWS resources. So once you're happy with the different policies that your developers are able to manage, we can click next step here. Okay, now just review. This part's really simple. We just need to make sure group name is developers and that our policies are correct before we create the group. And we'll just go ahead and create that. So now you'll see that developers rests under your groups tab here. And now we will work on assigning users on over to the group. So that will be our next task, which is to create a user with really any name and assign them to your developers groups. They should have programmatic and AWS Management Console access, and we'll also give them a one-time auto-generated password and allow them to change it once they receive it. Okay, so this will obviously be under the users tab here, and this is going to be a lot like the group, pretty simple here. So we're just going to add a username. I mean, this can be anything, so I'll just make it my name here. And for access type, you're always going to want to do both. I don't exactly know why, but Amazon suggests that you do both in their tutorial, so I suggest that you do both as well. Here you can create a way that the user will receive their password. I suggest auto-generated just because it seems a little bit more confidential. The user will get their auto-generated password in an email. They'll click a link and then they'll change their password to create their own password. Otherwise, if you'd like to create a custom password, you can always, create the password for the user. I don't know why you would do that, but it's always an option. So we'll give them an auto-generated password, and then here, require password reset. So this is where they'll change their password once they receive their auto-generated password. So then we'll go to their permissions. So here, we are going to set permissions for our user, and this is why we want to create the group first, is because we're going to be delegating the user to a group or groups. So if we want to just make sure the attached policies here that the user will have access to, so Jamie Allen will be in the developers group here, and we'll just review this. And we just want to make sure that all of our information is correct, the group and the managed policy here, and it all is looking good to me, so we're just going to go ahead and create user. Now this part's pretty important here. You'll see that you have access to view the secret access key of the user and the auto-generated password. You can download a CSV here that has the information for the access key and secret access key, and this is really important that we keep this information for future use, as well as sending this information to the user, so they'll have access to their access key ID and their secret access key, and these are what will be essentially the token that they cash in to access your AWS resources in the developers group. So once we close this, we'll never have access to it again, so just make sure that you document this if you're going to be working with this user long term. Okay. And then our last task, I just wanted to get you guys familiar with IAM roles. This part's really simple. We're just going to create a role where the trusted source is an AWS EC2. Some other roles that can be trusted are, like users from another AWS account. We'll see a couple more of those once we go through the tutorial. So we'll give EC2, the instance that we just created, full access and read-only access to our account. And then I have a certain name and role. We don't really have to abide by that because it doesn't really matter that much, but we'll go through it. Amazon AWS gives you a rundown of what roles are. I suggest that you read this so you get a better idea of what roles are and how you should use them. So this is very redundant now because we've done groups and users, and the process is very similar. Amazon makes this really easy. We're going to select the type of trusted entity. So like I said, we can do a service, another AWS account, web identity, SAML 2.0 federation. So for this tutorial, we're going to choose the service, which is EC2. You'll see that you can choose almost any service as a trusted entity for your account. So it doesn't always have to be EC2. I mean, you can use Kinesis. We've got some SageMaker, so that covers all of Team 211's products. So we will go next and cover the permissions. And again, like when we were setting up our group, we're going to see a ton of different permissions and policies here. So we want to give Amazon EC2 full access, and we want to give it read-only access to our account, and we're going to click Next Review. All right, and the role name, Amazon EC2 Access, and then the role description, I mean, I guess it already gives this one, so I don't feel like changing it there. So this is just kind of a review. We just want to make sure that the policies are correct and the trusted entity is correct, and then we're just going to create the role. And that covers it for the IAM tutorial. We have a list of step-by-step down here in case I missed something in my video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.